All right, here we go. Now we're getting people in the room. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Code and Compare webinar. All right, I'm just hanging out, letting everybody file in. The chat is open if you guys want to hang out and chat. Yeah, thanks for joining. Yo. Wow, this chat's getting awesome. Okay. This is a good sign. I probably shouldn't be saying this, but last year we did a webinar with Big Marker and it like just crashed into the moon. But this looks like it's working so far. So welcome everybody. Brandon. Hello, hello. All right, so let's what time is it? 11:01. Let's do about like 4 minutes and then we'll just get started. Uh-oh. Okay, cool. All right, yeah, if something happens, then I think I'll just like cut off the video feed and then, or at least this thing, and then we'll just share the screen, try to keep minimal things going through the wire. Hello from Brazil, Pakistan, South Africa, I love it. India, Colombia, everybody. I am based out of Las Vegas, Nevada. I do not live in one of those giant casinos. That is a myth. Yeah, I'm like 20 minutes off of the strip and pretty quiet on my side of town. So, hey, Rita. Cool. We have a good amount of people in here. I am plugged into the wall. I am running gigabit internet, which I don't know. Can you guys see my screen? Yeah, that's not a gigabit that I'm paying for, but it's not bad. Yeah. Okay, so I'll just leave that there. We have a couple polls that I want to run. Let's see. Yeah, that'd be nice, right? Pay for a bit. But so let's do a couple polls. This is kind of going to determine how we run this webinar and how I'm going to do a bunch of live coding today. And I haven't completely prepped for this because I think that seeing people live code and seeing how people kind of work through problems is very important. I don't really like when people have like this pristine, perfect version of things that they're coding and you don't really get to see the. So I am going to fire up a code sandbox. So I'm gonna send out the link for a code sandbox at the end, and then also if you want to follow along, you can fire up a code sandbox as well. Okay, so I'm getting some people not seeing stuff. Are people able to see my screen right now? It has the code and compare, just 2 logos on the screen right now. Okay. Can somebody shout out? Can anybody see screens here? Real quick, and then we'll get started. Oh, there's a poll. Let's look at this poll. Okay, so I am sorry for the few that know what else I could do on my side of things, but it looks like it's pretty decent as far as people seeing it. So let's move forward. I'm really sorry. This is going to be recorded and the link will be emailed as well. So if you're having problems, I'm not entirely sure what I can do on my end. Super sorry, but we're going to move on and let's do a second poll. I'm going to create it right now. Let's do use React or Vue. And then another answer will be neither Angular other or neither vanilla JS and jQuery. Let me format that real quick and then we will start polling. Okay, so another poll just went out. I kind of want to see where people are at in as far as experience-wise with both, so I can adjust how we code here today. All right, looks like a pretty decent spread. Okay, so the way that I kind of ran into things is I started in AngularJS, and then I started working with React, and then I went to Vue because that's kind of like the order of how old they are, right? AngularJS came first, then React, then Vue. So that's kind of how we're gonna format this today. So today, very, very simple app. I want to get into some of the more advanced stuff like state management, Redux versus Vuex, routing, form validation, and stuff like that. But I was looking at the numbers, and for today, I think we'll stick closer to like component architecture, creating projects, styling things. So kind of like beginner to intermediate. And then I think we'll do another one for more of the advanced type stuff, and much to fit into one webinar. So this is what we'll build. Super simple app, just a cart. And we have 3 products here, Super Ham, Bat Ham, and Aqua Ham. They're pig superheroes, I guess. And if you add a cart, it adds to the cart. It automatically calculates your price. It shows the number of items in your cart, and it just goes on. So super simple, right? It's very simple, but I think that there's a lot of techniques here that we can see as far as how React works and how Vue works, and how you can, choose one for your project. So moving forward, let's go into code and compare. There we go. Who am I? Chris Sevilleja. Sevilleja, maybe? I don't even know. I made scotch.io, so hopefully you've been on the site and found some good stuff and found something helpful. I'm a GDE, which is a Google developer expert. On Twitter, I'm at Chris on Code. And Holly will be manning our chats and the behind the scenes stuff today. She's a Scotch member, a Scotch team, and also a genius. And you can find her on Twitter, Holly Lolly. Okay, so moving forward, State of JS survey just came out recently that kind of polled the entire ecosystem for how things are going in the JavaScript land. And they do this every year, really cool stuff. You can see that React has a pretty big, this red section is people that have used React and would use React again. So React is kind of pretty dominant, I would say, in the front-end framework world. So Vue actually has a pretty big area of people that have heard of it and would like to learn it, haven't really tried it. And I think that makes sense because I see Vue come out and they're like, well, React's working for me or Angular is working for me. I'm not really going to make the jump. So that's what this webinar is for. Let's see how both work when we want to build that app. All right, what we'll build, I just showed it off. It's this cart thing. If I didn't have this tab open, you wouldn't really tell what was behind the scenes, right? Is this Vue? Is this React? they're both going to look pretty much the exact same. And that's something I want to drive home is it doesn't really matter what you build with as long as you ship something that is good for your consumers, right? So that's kind of what my approach is. I'm not trying to turn this into a flame war between React and Vue. So our approach, and I'll try this out a couple times and we'll see how it works. Our approach is we're going to build in React and then we're going to switch over to Vue. But I don't want to build the whole app in React and then switch and build the whole app in Vue. We're going to build like parts of it in React and parts in Vue so we can compare techniques. So we'll go back and forth and we'll see how it works. All right, main concept, starting projects. With the CLI tools, we have create React app and Vue CLI. We'll see that in like 5 seconds. Data and events, as far as passing data into our template, listening for events. Components, architecture, child components, passing data between components. We'll do that today. And I missed one, styling. Sorry, I'm moving around. So styling is another thing that's important between the two. And I think a really big deciding factor on whether you go with one or the other. So, and then after that, expanding, we'll do forms, routing, state management, third-party tools, and that'll be in another webinar. So let's get started. So in Code Sandbox, let's go into Code Sandbox. And if you haven't used Code Sandbox, it's an online playground where you can kind of play around with React, Vue, Angular, and just build right in your browser. And you don't have to do all that local stuff, CLI stuff locally. So we're going to create a React Sandbox. And this will be the starting point of a React app. Super, super easy, super simple with here. And we have our index.js, which is the main React component for us. So we have is our main component, and this app corresponds to everything over here. So if we say hello webinar people and save that, it immediately updates on the right side. If we do a couple more exclamation marks, updates on the right side, super nice, super easy. So that's starting a project in React. And just for clarity, I want to show how you would do it in your terminal. So here I have my terminal, my main folder where I put all my projects. I call it the Batcave. If we ls, we can see the projects in here. And let's clear that out. So if you do this with create React app, you go npx create React app. And then you can name your app whatever you want, right? So checkout app. And yell at me if I'm going too fast or going too slow or anything like that, and I'll update the pace. So that's how you would start a React app. And for Vue, you do the Vue CLI, which you have to install with npm I installed you globally, Vue CLI. And that's how you would install the Vue CLI. And then you can use it going Vue create checkout app, whatever you want to name it. I spelled Vue wrong. Vue. So the only reason I want to bring this back to the command line is because I think Vue has a really cool way of doing things. React, you just do npx create React app, and then you build out your application. Vue has a cool tool that they just released. It's the UI tool. So you go Vue UI, and let's see how this works. So this actually creates a new UI dashboard for you to build out applications. All right, so we have our dashboard. Let's go into Vue Project Manager. You can see all the Vue projects, and you can create a brand new one here. You can just say create, create a new project in whatever folder you want. So we'll create one here, my new Vue project, and you can actually change your package manager, all that good stuff. So this is kind of another tool that is useful in the Vue land. It's just a way to do it visually, which is really nice. So we'll just go through here, and it'll create your Vue app, create the folder for you, and all that good stuff. Yes. Let me, okay, so that is that. We're going to not do this locally. We're going to move over. We're going to move over to Code Sandbox now. And let's see if I can share this link. Where let me try turning off my camera. Hello? Am I back? Audio? Audio back? Okay, cool. Sorry about that. I had to turn off the camera, and I guess it turned off the mic too. Okay, so here is the link to the Code Sandbox, so you can kind of see me working in real time. Nice. You gotta love Code Sandbox. Super cool. I wonder if I can turn off the notifications. Oh, no. Okay. Oh, hide notifications. I should read more. Okay. So let's start looking at how we can get data from our app into our React JSX. So JSX is kind of how React does templating. And this is probably one of the biggest reasons for people to not jump into React, is because they kind of see JavaScript, HTML, this weird amalgamation, and they think it's kind of a weird mix. But I will say that I think that writing JSX, you will become a better JavaScript developer. You'll understand JavaScript better, and working in React, I do believe, since it's closer to pure JavaScript, it'll make you a better JavaScript developer as well. Whereas in Vue, you kind of hide some things away, and you'll see that in a second. But it all depends on your team and your project, right? And that's what we're here to find out. So to get data from our app into our template, let's say const message is equal to this is my message. We can go down here and you can just create a single brackets, curly bracket. And then we can type in message here. So now we have our message showing up here. And that's the way we can get data from our component into our template in React. So to do the same thing in Vue, actually, let's go a little bit further in React, and then we'll switch over to the Vue side just so we can get a little bit more room in here. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is create a list of products that we're going to loop over and show, right? So we're going to create products is equal to an array and of, so name, we're going to do super ham poster. Price is going to be 20. And then let's just copy this. And let's do 30 here, 10 here. Name this, I hit a couple buttons. Bat ham poster and aqua ham poster. Okay, so message is no longer defined, so we're seeing the error there. Let's delete that. Save there. Now we have this products list. We have to loop over the products and show that. So looping over products is looping over anything. A list, an array in React is kind of a tricky thing if you're not used to it. You can actually create a products And how do we loop over this, right? If we're turning this array into something in our view, React utilizes the array function, the array method .map. So we'll have a product, and then you actually pass it a function, which turns into div, and we're going to pass in product.name. So now we're looping over our products as this .map. Exactly. All right, so let me, seems like some people are having audio problems now. Double check audio options. Hello? Ha? Okay, sorry. We also have to show the price, so we're going to do product.price. And we'll put a $sign here. And then we also want to add a button here for on add to cart. Okay, so it's not the best looking app in the world, not yet anyways. Let's delete all that. This is kind of how we're going to have our product list. And when you're doing things in React over this, looping over something, you have to actually add, we'll see an error on here. No. When you're looping in React, you want to add an index, a key, to the loop so that React knows how to update this list accordingly, right? So this is kind of how we're going to bind data to our view is through these brackets. And wherever these brackets are, JSX will say, hey, JavaScript needs to come in and evaluate what's in that bracket. Okay. Yes. Okay, so that's how we're going to loop over these things in Vue. Let's, in React. I'm losing my mind over here. So let's go ahead and create a new code sandbox for the Vue side of things. So let's go into, let's exit out of full screen. Let's create a new sandbox. Let's open a new tab first. Create a sandbox. And the cool thing about Code Sandbox, you get all of these different options. We're going to go with the Vue CLI, which is similar to what you'd get if you use the Vue CLI locally. Okay, so let's open this up, go into Zen mode, and we go in app.vue. So this is kind of where I think people will start to see the differences, because maybe you're already familiar with React, and this was the previous example is a little easy to follow for you. This is the Vue side of things, where a Vue component is going to be stored in what's called a .vue file, a single file component, right? So this .vue file indicates to Vue that our template is here, our JavaScript for this template is here, and our styles for this template is below. So that's why a lot of people like Vue. Yes, let me get the Vue sandbox here. Vue go live. Here is the Vue link next to the React link. Let me hide notifications. Okay. This is kind of why a lot of people like Vue, is because everything is laid out into a single file. Oh, do I need to change? Yeah, classroom mode. Okay, so let's close that. Let's open that. Where is, okay. So this is kind of why people like Vue. Everything is kind of laid out into one file. One file is one component, and that's kind of how things go. So here we have a component called Hello World. And down here in ES6 land, you have an import from Hello World. Just happened from Hello World, from this Hello World file. And then this is how we are going to use it in our component. So let me delete all this and start over with Vue. So we're going to delete that. We're going to delete that. Delete that right here. And I don't really want any of the styles. Okay. So the first order of business in Vue that we saw in React is how do we get data from our component into our template, right? Well, in Vue, let me rewind. In React, you can use a function to create a component, or you can use a class to create a component. In Vue, the default is going to be an object is what creates our Vue components. So this component is named app, and once we have data here, it's a function which returns an object. And let's say our message here is, this is my message. Now that we have this data property here, we can go in here and use it like so. So this is my message. Okay. So that's one way to get data there. We can actually simplify this with ES6, enhanced object literals. You can actually shorten this to that. So it's creating a method on the object. And I like doing things that way. All right, so now we have a way to get data from our component into our template. Now, what about listening for events? Let's say we have a button here. Click me, right? And we want to click this button. And let's say it alerts something, nothing really important right now, but let's go Zen mode. It'll do an alert. How do we get this button to actually do an alert? Well, in React, you would do onClick is equal to, and then you would call the method that you wanted to call, right? In Vue, we're going to use what's called directives. And this is going to be onClick. And then you just name the method that you want to use here. So say hello is the method that we'll create, the function will create, and that will alert. Let's go ahead and create this method. Vue has a way to create methods here. We actually create a methods property on this object, and then we have say hello is our method, alert, what up? All right, so if we click this button, it'll actually use these methods, say hello, and alert, what up? Cool. In Vue, everything is kind of laid out a specific way in our Vue objects, right? We have data, we have methods, we have a couple different things. If you wanted lifecycle hooks, they're in there too. But that's how we're going to do that. So VON also has a shorthand version called @VON and @click are the exact same, and that's totally valid HTML as well. Now, the other thing I want to do is, let's say we have an avatar. I hope I remember this. HTTP, let's do a placekitten.com 300 by 300. So if we have an avatar and we want to bind this to this source, in React, you would just use the JSX brackets, and then it would evaluate avatar. In Vue, to bind to an attribute, you do vbind : source, and then you just do, in quotes, avatar. And the shorthand for vbind is : source. So we have : source and @click for events and for attribute binding. All right, so next step, let's get that list of products and loop over those products so we can see them in our Vue app as well as our React app. So down here in data, we're going to go products is an array, but I'm going to go ahead and steal that. For example, switch over here, paste that in there. And we don't need message and avatar anymore. We don't need the say hello method anymore. Let's delete all that. So what we have to do is loop over this list of products, and we're going to go div class is product list. And notice you're using class and not class name in Vue. So div class product list, and then we're going to go div class product. And then we're going to loop over this v4 product in products. And that's how you're going to loop in Vue. So now you can do product.name. And notice we get all three of them here. You can do product.price as well. And then finally, the button to add to cart. Yes, this is being recorded. Okay, so is everybody good on... Let's see what this wants. vbind key. Okay, so it also wants a key just like it did in React. So we have product index, and then we can vbind the key to index. Or shorthand, just colon key. Okay, so that's that. Let's do some styling in the Vue side of things first. And then we'll switch over to the React side. So I want to style these to kind of be similar to what we had earlier. Let's go down here. And notice we have a style tag here already built out for us in Vue. This is super helpful. We can actually just say product. And we can say background is FFF. Doesn't really matter at this point. Padding is 20 pixels. Border is 1 pixel solid. Let's go light gray, DDD. And max width is 300 pixels. And margin bottom is 30 pixels. And let's go border radius of 5 pixels. I didn't think it was required, but to use the key in Vue, but it just threw an error here, so I just did it because the computer probably knows better than I do. Okay. So we've been able to style here, and the cool thing about Vue's styling is, let's say we want these styles to only apply to this component. Having styles bleed out to other components. Let's say we used product in another place, or we brought in a third-party library that had a class named product as well. You don't want those styles to bleed out into other places. So what you can do in Vue is you just say scoped, and now these styles only apply to this component and this file itself. So that's very, very helpful. Very cool stuff. Okay, so next, I say let's continue on the Vue side so we're not switching too many times. Let's create the add to cart button, and let's show a cart over here, and then we'll switch back to React and see how it goes in React. This part's actually pretty similar. I think we'll see the divergence when we start to do, when we start to separate these templates out into multiple components. Let's create here. Yep. Let's go find that code. Yes, in React, styling is a little different in React. We'll talk about that because it turns a little. There's so many options to style in React that we have to talk about that in the future. Also, if you wanted Sass here, you would just have to say Sass, and install Node SaaS and Vue would handle it. So very helpful there. Let's make sure that we can actually add to cart here. Let's do this in an H2 tag. Drop that over here, finish the H2 tag. And we have price. Let's put a $sign there. Okay. Not the prettiest thing I've ever built, but it's okay. So we're going to have a method called add to cart. And this is going to be a function, but we need an index to know which product to add to our cart, right? And to pass that index in, we have to pass it in from our template up here. So this button add to cart, we can do v on click add to cart. And we already have the index because we're looping over and we have the index here. So we're passing in the index there. Let's do the shorthand version at click. Now down here, add to cart. First, we need the data property for cart. So we have cart, and let's start this out as an empty array, right? There's nothing in our cart when we start this project, when we come to this website. So how do we update the data property inside of a Vue instance? Inside of a Vue component, you do this dot cart is equal to, and you can do whatever you want here. So this could be an empty array, but that doesn't really make sense for what we're doing, right? So we want to take this cart, and I want to add whatever new product is coming in. That way we can keep what's in the cart already, plus add the new product. So to do that, I'm going to use a JavaScript array method called concat, this dot cart dot concat, and we're going to add the product's index. So we're going to look at this product. The index is 0 if we click this first one, index is 1, index is 2, and we'll just add that to the cart and set it on this dot cart. Oh, and sorry, that's this dot products because we're referencing data products. Okay. Push would probably work as well too. I just used concat. So push, I don't believe it updates the original, or sorry, I do believe it updates the original array. So you could have done this dot cart dot push, and Vue automatically watches for any of these mutation array methods. So if you update the original array, Vue will update the state for you, unlike in React. So that's why I use concat, because I'm kind of used to it from the array world, where you kind of want to take an array, copy it, and move it into a new array, and then set that as your state. So that's kind of what I'm used to. You could have used .push. Let's see, cart. Okay, so now I kind of want to just show this cart real quick. Let's just copy this whole thing. Paste it down here. Cart goes here. Let's do an HR tag just to split things up. Okay, so if I save this, let's refresh just to see. There's already stuff in the cart. Oh, that makes sense. Because I am doing a loop over products, which obviously there's products there. So if I do a loop over cart, there will be nothing in the cart when we start, right? So as I add to cart, this should automatically add to the cart down here, add to cart, and so on and so forth. So that's how we're going to listen for an event, take that, and then update one of our data variables, and it automatically will update in our template as we expect from our new age, JavaScript frameworks and libraries. I'm not sure what that. Save that for the end. I'm not entirely sure about that question. Okay, so I think this is a good spot to switch over to the React side of things. So let's go back over, and I'll reshare the live link real quick. Sorry, I'm looking at the QA real quick. This one we'll save for a bit. Please explain to those new intent what's the difference between arrow functions and regular function call. Yeah. So I think we can do it on the React side. So the question here was, what's the difference between an arrow function and the normal function? So what's the difference between this function hello versus this function, or sorry, const hello is equal to an arrow function, right? So I think what we'll do is we're going to convert this into a class, a React class, and then we'll see the differences between the arrow functions, and that'll help kind of show the difference between ES6 arrow functions and non-arrow functions with the traditional function. Okay, so here we had products. Should I close the, I'll stop the session, go live again. Sorry, that probably kicked a lot of people out. I'm sorry. Okay, let's go back into Zen mode. Okay, yeah, thank you. Classroom mode, cool. Back to Zen mode. Okay, we're good. So what I want to do here is let's do some styling. Let me bring that back out. Let's do some styling. So styling is a little different view. You kind of have to do a little bit more. So styles.css already exists here. And we could go in here and style our app, our .product list, or our product, and do that same thing that we did over on the view side of things. Now, the thing with this is this styles.css isn't scoped to this component. It actually is going to apply to everything, right? So we want more control over where our styles go. So the React solution, the React thing that I think people should look at is styled CSS in JS. And this is kind of where people kind of get turned off. So in the view land, you're doing CSS and Sass right in the component file, and you're doing HTML right in the component file. So I think if your team is a bunch of people that are coming from the HTML, CSS side of things, then Vue will look a little bit more comfortable to them, right? It's kind of hard to tell a front-end designer, developer to, hey, come in and say, hey, this is kind of the template that you're going to be adjusting, and these are the styles that you're going to be adjusting. So let's do a little bit of styled components. Let's create a dependency. Let's add styled components. And there's many different CSS in JS libraries out there. This is kind of a popular one. So we're going to do styled components. We'll add that. And let's go up here. So instead of importing an actual CSS file, we're going to import styled. And forgive me if my syntax is off. I haven't done this in a while. Components. Okay. So if we are going to mimic kind of the way Vue does things, Vue has their JavaScript, their template up top, and then they have their styles at the bottom. Let's create our styles here. Styles go here. We're going to say const app styles. Actually, let's do product list is equal to style.div. And then we're going to do an ES6 template backtick. And now anything that goes in here will create this product list component. So you're kind of styling the component itself right in here. So let's say background. I don't even know why I'm putting background. It doesn't matter. Border, 1 pixel solid, DDD, border radius, 5 pixels. What do we do before? 20 pixels, margin bottom, 10 pixels. So we can actually take this product list and use it up here as the actual component. And now our styles are taking, and now those are scoped to this product list. So it is a little bit more of a buy-in. It is a little bit more JavaScript, kind of a way to think, a different way to think. So it all depends on your team and what you're doing. There's a lot of benefits to this. You can actually use style components to pull in props and pull in actual variables. So you can style based on the variables that are brought in, which is a very cool thing to do. But that's just something to be aware of when you're building out these your React apps. Okay, so any questions on that? I know that's kind of a big jump for styled components to jump in there. It's already 11:45. Okay. So next, I want to make sure that we can add to cart here. So we're gonna need the yeah, it's kind of just hanging out there, the backtick. All right, so we're gonna need a cart. Const cart is equal to an array. Let me go back to, yeah, we're good. Now the thing with React is you need to find a way to manage state so that if we update cart, it will automatically update our template, right? View automatically does this because if it's in the data object, it will automatically update the template if it's changed. So in React, you have to use what's called state. And let's see. I kind of want to use React's newest 16.7 version that's in alpha right now that's coming out. But I'm not sure if I should. Let's see. No React hooks? Okay. Like in a good way or a bad way, melting minds? So I feel like a lot of people in here are more okay. Yeah, let's go for it. I mean, if you're familiar with React, React hooks will be new to you. And if you're not familiar with React, React hooks are actually, I think, a little bit easier on the eyes as far as converting from function to class. All right, we're going for hooks. So right now in the bottom here under dependencies, we have 16.5 and React DOM 16.5. We're going to delete these. So everything will break. Watch it break. Yeah. And let's add dependencies. Let's go React. And let's make sure we select 16.7 alpha 2. It's actually very stable. It's on 16.7 is on Scotch Live right now. But it does afford us a couple new tricks that I think are very important to the React world moving forward. And this 16.7 is supposed to be out like Q1 of next year, so in a couple months. Yeah, I'm reluctant to say this is the way to write React because that's not the way React does things, right? React kind of gives you all of the tools and says, it's your world, you know, do what you want, build your app how you want, build your team how you want. And that's the beauty of React is kind of that choose your own adventure type of thing. So since we need a way for React to watch products and update our template, we're going to use what's called state. And in React 16.7, we have a new thing called a React hook called useState. So all we have to do to change this to be able to handle state is we say products, set products, and I'll talk about the syntax as soon as it's over, equals useState, right there. And now we have to do the same for cart, set carts is equal to useState. Okay, so nothing really changed in our application just yet. But what happened is we have now this useState hook to actually say, hey, whenever products updates, we want to re-render this template. And let's talk about this. This is ES6's way to destructure an array. And it might be unfamiliar to you. Let's actually do a really, really quick demonstration of what it can do. So let's say I had a const persons, that should be people, Chris, and Holly. Array destructuring is a way to take these two properties in this array and pull it into two new variables. So normally you would say const Chris is equal to persons 0. So the first one, const Holly, is equal to persons 1, the second one, right? But with array destructuring, you can do const Chris Holly is equal to persons. And that's all that this is doing. It's kind of a fancy way to pull those two variables out of this useState function. useState isn't a computed property like in Vue. It's a tool for React that allows us to kind of create a separate object that will watch for these two functions to be used. So it's kind of just a way that says whenever this is run, we're going to update the products. Okay, so yes, let's take a look at it real quick. Add to cart. In React, if we want to listen for an event, we use on, click, or whatever, on, key down, key up, all those events. We're just going to listen to them using this on, whatever the event is equal to, and we want to do add to cart, and we're going to pass in an index here. And that's how we're going to do this in React. You actually create the function and pass it through. And here we're going to create an add to cart function, add to cart, index. Now that we have the set cart function here, we can just say set cart, and we're going to do products. We're going to set cart. I want to do this in one line, but I probably shouldn't. So we'll do cart dot concat products and the index that's getting passed through. So very similar to how we did it in Vue. Very similar to how we did it in Vue. Let's make sure that we can actually see this. Products.map. Let's do the same thing for cart.map. And let's do cart goes here. Okay. So if we add, we're getting the same effect as we did on the Vue side of things. Okay, let's recap, because I know the useState, the React hooks is a little bit much. So this is just the way that React holds data inside of its components, right? It uses state to look at state, and whenever state gets updated, it will render the template again. Very similar to how Vue looks at its data object and says, okay, whenever things in the data object get updated, I'm going to re-render my template. Yeah. Okay, any questions on those two things? Because state in components in both React and Vue are pretty important. Yes, so this useState will actually take the place of this .set state in React 16.6. So you would normally set state like this, new cart items, right? But this dot is only usable when you're using a class, right? A class app. Well, I mean, it's usable everywhere, but it's better used in the class environment. But if we're not using classes, it's a little bit easier to kind of teach, since you're not having to teach people about this dots all over the place, right? You just have products, and right here you have cart items, and then you can use them instead of having to destructure them like you used to and say const products is equal to this dot state or anything like that. You don't have to do any of that pulling from objects. You just automatically have products in your function. Yeah. Okay, so let's move forward. We have our cart. the next thing I want to do, and we're coming up on an hour now, probably like the last thing I want to do is talk about how you can create separate components and pass data down to those components, those child components. So this product list right here is probably something that can be repeated. We're using it in 2 separate places, and all it's really doing is taking products. So let's go ahead and up here, we have our app function, which is our main component. Let's create a new component that's just called product, and we'll use that. So we'll do function product, and let's pull some data out of that. We're going to pass it a product, and we're going to return. Let's just go down here and copy it, right? So we're going to return, actually it's a product list that we're doing, but this should be the product right here. My naming's off on these. So this should probably be styled product. Yeah. So let's change these to styled product. And I'll copy that, go down to our styles and update our styles down here. Sorry, there's a lot of movement, but now we have a product, right? And we pass it a product, product.price, index. Let's pass it an index too. Nah. Let's move that index out. And this is our new add to cart is something we also need. Okay. Okay. So if we go down here, let's reuse that component we just did. We're going to product map. So we have product. Key is index. And we want to pass it the product. And also pass it add to cart. So this is how we're going to pass data from our parent component, which is app, down to our child component, which is product. And we can do the exact same thing here as well. And since we're passing in this add to cart down to our child component, and our child component calls it, everything should work the exact same. Wait, index, we need index. So we pass an index there, pass an index to both of these. And there's ways to simplify this. I just want to get through this because I want to get to the view side of things. All right, so that should be good. Yep. So everything's still added to our cart. But our cart items have this add to cart button, which makes no sense because they're already in the cart. So you can actually do some stuff like, there's a bunch of ways to do this. I'm trying to speed this up since I don't want to take too much more time. We can create something like show add button or show remove button. That's one way to do it. You could pass it in as a slot is one way to do it. Yep. But for now, since we're running way out of time, let's just skip on that. And then let's move into the view side of things. Any questions on everything up to this point? Yes, this webinar will be recorded and emailed to everybody. Cool. Okay, where were we? The view side of things. I'm thinking, do I need to do anything else here? Oh, one last thing I want to do here. Let's show the price under cart goes here. So we'll do function calculate price. And what we really want to do is take everything in the cart and look at everything in the cart as their price and sum it all together, right? So to do that, we're just going to use a reduce. And let's see if my syntax is right here. So we'll do return cart dot reduce, and we're going to have the accumulator, which is the price, and each separate item product. So we're going to return price plus product dot price, and start it. Start it at 0. I think that's right. So let's use it in our templates. Cart goes here, open up JSX brackets, calculate price here. All right, so that's $0. Not bad. As we add to cart, it automatically calculates. Okay. Yes, calculate total price would be more appropriate. Yep. Let's see. All right, I think that's everything with the React side of things. I know it wasn't as good looking as our earlier demo, but let's move to Vue. So if we go to the Vue side of things, let's see if this is still going. I'm still live here, repasting the link just in case anyone needs it. Oh, yeah, get rid of buttons in cart. Probably the easiest way to do this would be to be like show add button, but that's not the best way because I don't think that is going to correlate into, you probably want to use this product in many more places, and show add button probably wouldn't really work in that case. So what I think would be a really good solution would be to add children. And then down here, you would have a way to pass in add button goes here. And then down here in the cart, there would be no children because we're not passing in that entire thing. So we don't even need add to cart there. Let's just double check to make sure this is going to work. Add button goes here. Yeah, you could also do it as product action right here. And then use that. I think that doing it as a slot where you pass in this and then you just say children here is a good approach, because maybe you have like a bookmark button, maybe you have like a wish list button that you want to add later on. So you don't actually have to change this component. You kind of just go down here and add it down here. And let's see if that works. Yep, so it still works. I don't know where this J came from. Where are you at? Yep, right here. So that's kind of one way to do it. Yeah. All right, so let's move on to the Vue side of things. And notice how we just created a function product right inside the same file. I think this is something that the flexibility that React provides of just do it how you want to is really helpful. We'll see that in Vue, a component corresponds to a file, right? So that kind of limits you in your scope of flexibility. But that's also a benefit to some people. It depends on your team. All right, where were we? We want to move. Well, first, let's calculate the price. I think that's the easy, low-hanging fruit here. So here we have data, we have methods. Where exactly do we put a method to calculate the price? Because you don't really want that in the template, right? You don't want that whole reduce in the template. Vue has a place called computed. So these computed properties are going to be ways that we're going to take all of our data from here and pull out data from it and derive some new piece of information. So price, and I think somebody said in chat this should be called total price, which makes sense, or cart price, something like that. This is where we want to do return this dot, I have to write it again, this dot cart dot reduce. I should have gone to copy it, right? Price, product, arrow function, price plus product dot price, and start at 0. So now this total price we can use in our template because it's under the computed properties, and up here, $ total price. And you wouldn't be calling that as a function. It's already calculated for you and called for you. Yes, so the default Vue tutorial, Vue can actually scale down and up pretty well. You don't even need to use these .vue files in Vue. If you wanted to just drop it onto an existing app, all you need is the script tag, and you wouldn't even have to deal with all this Webpack, all this CLI type stuff. You could just drop it onto an existing app really quickly. Single file components are popular. These .vue file components are very popular if you're doing single page apps. You can also, if you have a build system, you can use these .vue apps to compile out single use components. Vue is very, very flexible in that regard, where it can be used in many different situations. Okay, so let's go ahead and create this product component that we have so that we can see how we can reuse components. So over here in our editor, file editor, under components, we'll just delete this hello world one. We'll create a new one for product.view. And if this was my local editor, I'd have all of my keyboard snippets, but we don't. So we're just going to use template. Oh, scaffold is here. What am I talking about? Okay, so scaffold is the snippet command to generate a view, single view file. Okay, so we always want a parent container for these. So we're just going to put a div here. And this product.view is everything that we had in app.view. So we'll just copy it over. Where is it? Product right here. Copy this. Paste it here. We don't want this v4 in here. Okay, so we have products, click. Let's remove this click for now because I think that Vue handles child to parent communication a little differently than React does. All right, so how do we get our product from our parent component down to our child component in this product.view? In our child, we have to create a name, so we'll call this product. And also, Vue wants us to define the props that are going to come into this child component. So we're going to say props, and we're going to say product is what we want to grab out of the parent. Now, another thing that Vue can do is instead of defining props as just a simple array, is you can actually say props, and we want product to be an object. So we're going to do that, product.name, product.price. I think that's all we need for this component. So the next thing we need is to pull this into our parent component. And just like we did in React, we're going to, sorry, we didn't do an import in React. So we're going to import product from components product. And then now that we have it, we have to register it in this Vue component. So we have to do components product. And now we can finally use it in our template. So up here, we'll say right here, product, and we'll delete all of this stuff right here. And since we have product, we actually want to pass product in as a vbind. Product is equal to product. Okay, so everything works the exact same, but we have this product. Well, we don't even need class there anymore. We have this product child component that we're able to use inside of our parent component. So now we need to do the exact same for down here. Say product, but instead of product index in products, we're going to do product index in cart. You can also, like we said earlier, remove the vbind because that's not necessary for the shorthand version. And now we don't need any of that stuff. So now we have our child component being used in our parent component. So you'll notice syntax-wise, it's not that different, React and Vue. They just have different ways of going about things. So pretty much HTML, if you like HTML, and a style tag at the bottom, if you like that as well, is probably the big differences on whether to choose whether or not you use it for your team. Okay. All right, now let's talk about the other big difference. We want to add to cart still. But we haven't been able to do that yet because this button doesn't do anything in our product, right? Are we going to get this product to tell our parent component, hey, we actually are adding something to the cart? Vue handles this a little differently than React does. In React, you pass down the method to the child, and then the child calls that method, and it just calls it from the parent. In Vue, you have to make sure that your child component emits an event, and then the parent component will listen for that event and then act on that event. So it's a little bit different way of thinking. In here, let's say normally button has its own event called click, right? And we can listen for that click event, but we want to create our own separate event. So to do that, we're going to say at click. So whenever something is clicked here, we're going to, sorry, that was the React syntax, add to cart. And I don't really want to pass down the index from the parent. I think that there might be a better way. Like, let's say there's a product ID, so you would probably want to pass in product.id or product.name. That way, this child component isn't really worried about having an index passed to it, right? So let's try it with product.name, and we'll see how this goes. Here we have methods, add to cart, name. Now this is where we're going to create our custom event so that our parent can listen for the custom event. We're going to say this dot emit added to cart, and we're going to pass out the name. So that way this component is totally self-contained. Totally self-contained. And in our parent, let's go up to our template. All we have to do, let's close the sidebar. Where are you? There we go. All we have to do on the parent, instead of listening for at click, we have to listen for at added to cart. Now we can call a method on this component, handle add, and then down here, create handle add in our methods. Actually, yeah, let's call handle add. And we're passing out the name. And just to make sure that everything is there, console.log name. Just like React, Vue has some really solid dev tools as well that you can use. Let's make sure everything's working. Bat ham poster, aqua ham poster. Okay, so we are able to get the name from the child. So how do we add the product based on its name? We're going to const index is equal to, let's see, this dot products dot find index product. I think this is the right syntax, right? Product dot name is equal to name. So then we can basically use the same exact line right here to add based on the name. Yeah. Added cart, nothing's happening. Console errors. Let's go and take a look. Cannot read find index of undefined. So find index, this dot product. Should be an S in there. Products. It's always the little things, right? Add to cart. All right, so we're able to add based on the name. So a little different than how we did it in React since we passed down the index, but here we did it by using the name to find that specific product. We no longer need this add to cart. We have our total price here, and we're able to add as we go. So that's kind of the gist of our app today. I think that'll be a good place to stop. Oh, yeah, remove add to cart button. Let's see. How do we do it in React? We did it as a slot. So we can do that here as a slot as well. Or just another way to show it, you can actually pass in just like a show add button. This is kind of like my lazy way to do it. False, or sorry, this is true. And then show add button up here is false down here. And since it is the vbind method, Vue will actually look at that string and say, okay, I need to evaluate this. This will be passed in as an actual Boolean. So if we go over here, props, we need to pass this in as props. Show add button is going to be a Boolean. What you can also do is expand this out to be an object and say type is Boolean, and you can say default is true. So that's one way to do it. And then up here, we have show add button. We can do vif show add button, and then you show that there. So let's see. It is not showing the add button. Let's see what happened. Show add button is true. Sometimes you have to refresh Code Sandbox and then it shows, which is weird. But add to cart, and now down here, these things don't show. We could probably add a remove button, but we're coming up on time. I think we've gone over actually. So let's go back to slides and see what's going on here. So when to use React? I think React is a really great tool. React is sitting on top of the Scotch website right now for pretty much all of the interactive JavaScript stuff. If you're familiar with ES6, you're totally comfortable with JavaScript, and you like having the ability to switch between classes, functions, destructuring, JSX, all that good stuff, go ahead and use React if you're like really comfortable with ES6, because there's a lot of... Oh, did I? Sorry. So let's do Q&A, and then that should bring us to the 30 mark. So React is really cool because you get to, yep, I'll get a link to this presentation as well. React is cool because it's choose your adventure as you go, right? Like, so if you wanted to bring in routing, then you would go and find your favorite router. If you wanted to bring in styles, you would go and find your favorite styling library. Just the ability to be flexible like that is really powerful. That's a good question. What should you know in terms of JavaScript before diving into React and Vue? I think that a little bit of ES6 knowledge is very important. Vue can actually go down to like an ES5 type thing where you don't need all that build system and all that good stuff. But I think knowing about like ES6 imports, knowing about ES6 arrow functions is very helpful, especially in the React world. I think you'll start to use a little bit more of the array, all of the default methods like array concat, like array .map, all that good stuff. You're going to see a little bit more on the React side of things, especially in JSX, because Vue kind of hides that behind the directives for vif, v4, and all that good stuff. But I honestly think that both are a really good way, as long as you have a pretty basic knowledge of ES6. I think jumping into either one, you'll learn a lot more about JavaScript. So choose as you go. Let's see, am I clicking? Flexibility, strong ecosystem. It was around longer, so there's a lot of third-party problems, packages. And let's see. No, I'm looking for Vue. Yep, there you are. If you want more out of the box, Vue is a really good way to go if you want to like hit the ground running as far as having styles, having a router, having state management, all that good stuff. Vue is a really strong way to go. If you want set guidelines for your team in React, if the ability to be flexible kind of is what makes it a little bit harder to form guidelines around it, because it's whatever you want it to be. So for you to build a team around it, you kind of have to make sure that you have your set guidelines in place. So just a little bit of things to think about on the React side. Vue has very specific ways it wants things done. If you have designers on the team, I think Vue is very helpful here because you're doing CSS, right? Like you're not going to tell your designer to come in and start using CSS and JS, or you're not going to trust them to update a JSX template, right? Vue is closer to HTML, it's closer to CSS and Sass, so it's a little bit easier. And if you're less familiar with ES6, but that's not to say that Vue requires less is less JavaScript, right? Vue is just has a certain way to do their JavaScript. Advantages of JSX, in my opinion, I think that if you're doing a lot of, let's take a look. JSX benefits, and this is actually even stated on the Vue docs, right? So if you're doing template type stuff where you're just displaying information, Vue's directives are really easy to use and inject into your templates. But if you're doing stuff like this isn't that difficult logic-wise, but if you're doing switch cases and you're doing like a bunch of different things as far as showing, hiding buttons and stuff like that, even Vue says that JSX can be used in Vue, and JSX is very good for logic-heavy interfaces. Yeah, you can totally use JSX with Vue. Vue's very flexible in that regard as well. So that's why I say Vue's really cool, because it spans all the way down to like ES5 level where you could just insert a script tag and start working. Or it can do the full, hey, here's a CLI, here's a single page application, here's a way to adjust your rendering with JSX. I know I'm sounding like I'm bringing Vue like up higher than React, but it's just cool that they have all that built in, right? But I do think that messing around with JSX will make you a better JavaScript developer. Like learning how to do these dot maps. In Vue, you had to do div and ngIf, that's old school. vif, show add button. Button here. In JSX, you would do something like open up your tag to signify that, hey, this is going to be something you need to evaluate. Show add button. And it's a way of saying, hey, if this is true, if that's truthy, then show the next thing, right? And then if you wanted to do like here, you could, oh, I'm using VS Code shortcuts in the browser. So you could do vif, so you could do vshow, vhide, right? If you wanted to do a ternary operator here, you could say show button here, and then div other button here. So that's just a JavaScript ternary operator with the question mark and the colon, right? But it's in JSX. So I think you messing around with JSX, you'll start to learn JavaScript a little bit better. Yeah. As far as TypeScript goes, I haven't really used TypeScript too much in the React or Vue worlds, much past like, you know, hello world type stuff. So I can't really speak to that. I do think TypeScript is amazing. Like I just upgraded a project and changed out the file name to like TypeScript and added in TypeScript and all that, and it found like a billion errors that I thought were totally not supposed to be there. Yeah. So it's kind of like just somebody behind your back saying, hey, like do this, do that, do that. But yeah, I think that could be something we explore in one of the next ones. All right, Q&A, which I think we've been doing pretty well on. Let's see, we need links. Question, is there a way to add Sass? Is that to React? Yes, you can add Sass to React. All you have to do is now that the new Create React app came out, it used to be kind of a pain, but all you have to do now is go to dependencies, add node Sass, add node Sass. Is this the React one? This is the React one. Change this to what you want it to be, and then import it as you normally would. So that's how you add Sass in React. How does Redux and Vuex differ? Sorry, there's some movement going on. So I personally haven't had too much as far as like building out something that is real. I haven't had much experience in Vuex. Redux is Redux. I think Redux has its place and is very strong in like teaching you different ways to think about your app. I'm gonna have to dive into Vuex a little bit more before I can actually say. But I have been using React Context a little bit more, and I'm liking the simplicity of that. And there's a package called Unstated that uses context underneath that I like a lot. So is Vue two-way data binding? It is not two-way data binding. It is one-way data binding. I like this poll that just popped up because I don't even know the answer. Yeah, so if we were actually like looking at it, vModel. So if we did an inputs, vModel message, and then we actually showed the message here. And then under here, let's just make sure we have message. Hello. So vModel message, right? As soon as we start typing into it, it updates message. But this, the trick here is that is actually a shortcut for, and forgive me if my syntax is wrong. It's like v on key down or something like that, and then it updates. It's this dot message is equal to e dot target dot value, and v bind message. Message, whatever that syntax is. That's wrong, but whatever that syntax is. So it's just a shorthand for that, but it is one-way data binding. It's, as we saw in AngularJS, it makes it kind of hard to maneuver around your components if it's two-way. But it looks like it's two-way, so that's what matters, right? What microphone am I using? This is the Shure SM7B. Let's see what else we got. Why do so many devs prefer Vue as the new hotness? That's an interesting question. I think that it's funny because it looks like AngularJS, right? From 2009. So is it like the new hotness? I think that people like its simplicity. People, especially me too, it's like I didn't really get styled components, CSS and JS, when I first saw it. And this is kind of comfortable, right? It's comforting to see stuff that you're already used to, that you already put your time in. So a lot of people coming from HTML, CSS, it's easier to jump into this than it is to learn a whole new thing that's built on JavaScript, right? And I think that's just the way of the JavaScript world. Something new comes out, you gotta like get excited about it, which is great because I think JavaScript right now is a really fun place to be. View hooks in view lifecycle hooks. Yes. So where's my view template? So there's the same lifecycle hooks in your object. You just do created. And then you can do like an axios.get if you need to go get data or something like that. There's all the lifecycle hooks in there. Just check out the docs. They're pretty good. Yeah, or fetch. Fetch if you don't want to bring in a third-party dependency. Show in React the lifecycle hooks. So normally lifecycle hooks in React, if you were using classes, you would look like this. Where's my app function? Here we go. If you did a class, extends component, you would do this component did mount, and then you would do whatever you needed to there. Yeah, React.component, since we didn't destructure it up here. So to do it in React 16.7, since they're not trying to move people, they're giving people the option to use functions as your first party components. You can use what's called effect, use effect. So let me pull that in, use effect. And down here, you would say use effect, which is a function. And whatever happens here is basically component did update. So every time this component renders, it'll actually use effect, whatever's in here. So to get it to only render once, you would pass in a second parameter, which is an array of variables that you want to watch. So let's say I passed in products here. This would only run if products changed. If I passed in nothing there, this would only run on component mount. So that's component did mount. This is component did update. And component did, or will unmount is returning on a function here. So anything in this returned function will be happening on destruction of this component. So it's just like a different way. That's why I wanted to do 16.7 in this demo. I think that just having a function as your component and then having all the things inside of this one function is a very simple way to look at React. Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for coming in. I hope we'll get an email out for the recording. We'll get an email out for these links and these slides. The next one, I do want to do more advanced stuff like bring in Vuex, bring in the router. Thanks, everybody. Let's see. I just want to make sure I didn't miss any of the Q&As. Good resources to find remote jobs. We're launching our own job board. Thanks, everybody. We're launching our own job board that is not 100% yet, but if you go to remoteok.io, very good place to get remote jobs. Cool. Perfect. Okay. Well, thanks everybody for coming. Thanks so much for hanging out and waiting for those sound and video issues or whatever. We might do Twitch next time and YouTube. Let's see. See you, everybody.